The chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with light from 100 systems. Tall, elegant beings from every known species sat in their floating chairs. The room buzzed with quiet fear, not of war, but of Earth. "They're growing too fast," said Councillor Varn of Vizellari, his many fingers tapping nervously. "Their fleets expand beyond agreed zones." "The humans were once quiet," muttered Lore from the ice moons of Drask. "Now their silence feels dangerous." At the center of the room, High Speaker Rellan stood. His voice carried across. "The hall like a blade. This council must act. Before Earth moves further, we must send them a final message." It wasn't a suggestion. On Earth, far beneath the surface, General Ray sat inside a bunker built to survive anything except peace. His desk was made of polished stone, cold to the touch. Across the room, a large screen blinked incoming message. "Council Directive, 9002-final dot." He opened the message. It was short. "Cease all interstellar expansion. Disarm new war fleets. Withdraw from neutral zones. Last warning. Galactic." Council Ray didn't blink. His assistant, a young officer named Jana, waited for orders. "Well?" she asked softly. "Nothing to say," he replied. "They've already made their choice." Across Earth, the message played before every key leader. Presidents, admirals, directors, none spoke. They didn't shout, argue, or panic. They simply nodded, as if they'd been expecting this moment all along. At the Pacific Defense Corps, Commander. Leon activated a secure channel and entered a command. "Frostfire Protocol, standby." High above the planet, black ships the size of cities stirred awake. They had no flags, no signals, no colors. Built in secret. Moved in silence. Back in council space. Days passed. There was no reply from Earth. Councillor Varn grew restless. "Why haven't they responded?" "They're scared," Lore suggested. "No," Rellan said firmly, his eyes narrowing. "They're thinking." Just then, reports arrived. Strange disruptions near the borders. Patrol ships vanishing. Static on long-range sensors. Communications disrupted across 4 sectors. No sign of enemy fire. No sign of battle. Varn looked up. Could it be the humans? No one answered. On Earth's lunar command base, a message was sent. It was not diplomatic. It had no introduction, no signature, no warmth. "We heard you." That was all it said. Meanwhile, in a hidden orbital station near the edge of known space, an Earth vessel prepared to launch. It was called the Winterlight. Sleek, coated in quantum glass, and invisible to standard sensors. Captain Mira stood. At the helm, her hand resting on the navigation console. A calm, unreadable expression rested on her face. "Orders, Captain?" Asked her second dash in Dash Command Dot. She tapped the screen. "We fly dark. No weapons active unless fired upon. We're not here to destroy. We're here to remind." To remind them of what? She looked ahead, voice as cold as ice. That Earth doesn't bluff. In the council chamber, more planets began reporting unexplained losses. Communications failing, satellites blinking out, small freighters disappearing, no wreckage, no survivors, just gone. The council called for another emergency session. "They've declared war in silence." Someone shouted. "No," Rellan said again. "If they wanted war, we'd already be dead. This is a message." The screen blinked again. Earth's second reply. "This is restraint." And across the stars, silence fell like a storm. Asterisk. Stars above council space glittered as always, but there was a tension in the void. Something hidden. Something watching. The Galactic Council had grown used to threats, pirates, minor rebellions, and border disputes. But this was different. This was Earth. And Earth had not responded the way most species did. No long speeches. No protests. No cries for mercy. Only silence. On the edge of Council territory, near the neutral zone of Sector 12, a scout ship named Blossom Wing flew routine patrol. Its crew of 4 relaxed, eating and listening to soft tunes from the homeworld. Nothing unusual showed on the scanners. Then everything went dark. No alarms. No warnings. Power failed instantly. Communications dead. Even emergency lights didn't flicker. The captain reached for her backup system, but it had frozen too. One by one, the crew began to panic. And outside the ship, no star shined. Only black dot inside a deep vault on Earth. General Ray studied the holographic map. Tiny red dots appeared every hour. Council ships, bases, satellites all blinking out, not with violence, but with precision. Earth's new stealth drones didn't attack. They disrupted, they erased. He pressed a button. Report. 22 more disruptions in the last 6 hours, sir. No casualties, all clean. No traces. Ray nodded. Good. Begin Phase 2. Counselor Varn stood in the heart of the chamber, his voice shaking. Another ship vanished. Blossom Wing. That's 5 this week. And still Earth sends no proper reply, barked Lore. They treat us like fools. But High Speaker. Relin remained still. No, they treat us as a threat. And they are right. Gasps echoed across the chamber. You suggest Earth has reason to act against us? Relin turned, his voice calm. We sent a final warning without offering peace. We backed them into a corner. Now they're showing us how cold a corner can be. Far away, on a council colony world called Myron, citizens enjoyed a festival. Under floating lanterns. Suddenly, every screen in the city went black. Music stopped. Ships fell silent. Buildings froze. No explosions. No alarms. Just quiet. Then, one screen lit up pure white, and a message appeared in every language. This was a light touch. You asked for war. We answered without rage. Earth panic swept the colony. Not from destruction, but from understanding. Back on Earth, deep in a mountainside command bunker, Captain Myra of the Winterlight received her next directive. Captain. Her comms officer said, Command has activated Frostfire's Phase 2. We're to begin silent formation, chunks near high-value targets. Are we to engage? No. Just appear. Myra smiled slightly. Let them feel the cold before the storm. In the council chamber, another emergency vote failed. Some members wanted to negotiate. Others wanted retaliation. The problem was they couldn't find Earth's forces. Every probe sent was lost. Every spy ship disabled. There was no trail to follow. And Earth still had not fired a single weapon. Counselor Varn finally broke. We underestimated them. We thought the humans were still recovering from their last war, but they've been building. Relin nodded. And learning. They understood us better than we understood them. While we debated, they acted. Just then, a new broadcast arrived. A still image. A planet icy, silent, empty. The caption said, Don't confuse silence with weakness. Earth's third reply wasn't words. It was a live feed of their Black Fleet 12 massive ships, unmanned, floating just outside Council. Territory. No lights, no signals, no sound. Just watching. And beside them hovered probes, each one loaded with data on every major Council capital. Power grids, transport lines. Security flaws. No threats were spoken. The message was clear. Earth knew everything. In the quiet of his chambers, High Speaker Relin whispered to himself. They didn't scream. They didn't shout. They just watched and waited. He stared at the still image of Earth's Black Fleet and shivered, not from fear, but from the certainty that this wasn't the beginning of war. This was Earth's answer. Asterisk, deep within the neutral sectors, space grew strangely empty. No merchant routes, no patrols, no pirate activity. It was as if the stars themselves had gone quiet watching. Aboard the Council Defense Outpost Viron Station, Commander Dell was the first to speak what many feared to admit. "They're not attacking us," he whispered, staring at blank screens. "They're removing us." Earth's strategy had become clear. The stealth drones didn't destroy. They cut connections, blinded communications, erased surveillance. The humans weren't waging war in the traditional sense. They were ghosting the galaxy. Fleet sensors failed in Council ships. Backup systems blinked red, even on core worlds. Cargo ships floated helplessly, rerouted by strange signals they couldn't trace. Earth's Black Fleet didn't fire a single shot, but the Council's reach was shrinking day by day. And worst of all, no one knew when the next system would fall. In a classified underground base on Earth's second moon, Captain Mira stood. At the center of a glowing star map, the screen zoomed in on 3 Council sectors, now dark one after another. A young officer spoke from the shadows, voice tight with disbelief. "Captain, these are major defense zones. We didn't even fire. We just stepped in." Myra nodded. "We didn't need to shoot. We needed to be seen." Another officer asked, "What if they respond with full force?" "They won't," Myra replied. "They're already scared to death, and fear delays judgment." In the council hall, panic had turned into paralysis. Reports came in by the hour, entire fleets unable to communicate. Colonies shut down by invisible tech. A power plant on Jorik 4 started playing ancient Earth music from its speakers. An old human piano tune, slow and soft. The message? "We're already here." Counselor Varn slammed his fist on the table. "This is invasion without fire. They are inside our borders, and we can't even prove it." Counselor Lore added, "We underestimated what Earth calls a cold front. We thought they'd attack. Instead, they replaced us." Across a quiet world near the edge of the Council's influence, something shimmered in the upper atmosphere. A massive Terran stealth ship uncloaked briefly to gather environmental data, then disappeared into the dark again. The locals never even saw it. But by morning, all their long-range transmitters had been rerouted, now feeding directly into an Earth-controlled system named IceGrid. And on every screen, a message appeared. "This planet is now under protection. No further interference will be tolerated." There were no flags, no soldiers, just calm silence and total control. Aboard the flagship Winterlight, Mira watched transmissions roll in from across the stars. The operation was working. "What's our next move, Captain?" "You want to shut down their core?" Myra's eyes narrowed. "No. I want them to shut it down themselves out of fear." She walked to the front console and uploaded a new video to transmit. It showed Earth's original message again. "This is what restraint looks like." Then it faded into a new line. "Shall we show you what comes next?" On Council Capital World, emergency meetings now ran without end. Sleepless ministers debated how to respond. Some argued for diplomacy. Others screamed for war. But war with what? Every time they reached out, the lines were silent. Every time they tried to strike back, their ships failed to launch. They had no enemy to aim at. Only shadows. Late at night, in the private quarters of High Speaker Relin, a secret visitor arrived. It was Toma, one of the few alien captains, brave enough to sneak into Terran space and return alive. Relin stood in disbelief. "You went to Earth?" Toma nodded slowly. "I saw their command centers. Their ships, their silence. And they're not angry, Relin. They're not proud. They single quotes resolved. They don't want war." "And what do they want?" Toma's eyes darkened. "Control, but not with flags or armies. With quiet. They want to reshape the stars without asking permission." Relin sat down slowly. "Then we were fools to send that warning. Asterisk, the planet Valerix was a jewel in Council space. Its capital, Ringdalais, shimmered with light towers and orbital rings. Millions lived and worked there, proud under the Council's protection. It had never seen war. One morning, as the sun rose, everything stopped. Every ship in orbit drifted without power. Every satellite blinked off. Defense turrets spun silently in place. Streets filled with silence, then confusion. Doors didn't open. Trains halted. Messages couldn't be sent. Screens went black, then showed a white symbol. A single snowflake. No fire. No weapons. Just absolute, clean shutdown on Earth. General Ray watched from his command chair as the feed from Valerix came through. No casualties, an officer reported. No resistance. Total control within 7 minutes. Ray nodded. Send the message. The officer transmitted Earth's statement to every species in the region. This was a light touch. Let it be enough. Across the stars, fear rippled faster than any fleet dot in the council chamber. The mood had changed from outrage to terror. This is impossible, shouted Councillor Varn. They didn't even land troops. Councillor Lore whispered. They didn't have to. High Speaker Relin stood slowly. We pushed them. And now they've shown us restraint. It feels like suffocation. Someone in the room trembled, voice shaking. What happens if they stop being so restrained? On board the Winterlight, Captain Mira watched sensor logs from VALARIX. No signs of panic, no fighting, just compliance. Her second in command turned to her. We could have taken the capital. Declared victory. Myra shook her head. This isn't about conquest. It's about reminding them who we are and what we can do. She brought up a holographic map. 10 more council systems were marked with cold blue. They'll freeze before they burn. News spread quickly. On trade, world Venari, civilians. Boarded ships, fleeing what they believed would be Earth's next move. On mining colony, Delaran, workers refused to report in, thinking Terran drones might already be watching. And on border station Kriven Base, officers burned confidential files before they even knew Earth was coming. The fear was that sharp humans were moving, and no one could see them, just feel them. A quiet meeting took place on Earth between civilian leaders and military command. Some wanted to halt the campaign, afraid of full-scale galactic panic. But Ray stood firm. They sent us a final warning. Now we've given them final clarity. What if they ask for peace? Someone asked. Ray looked across the table. Then we will listen, but not kneel. The council sent another message to Earth, this time polite, cautious. Let us speak. Let there be understanding. But Earth didn't respond. Instead, a new image spread across the stars. It showed 10 planets, frozen in time, their power cut, each surrounded by small Terran satellites, silent, unmoving. A line of text followed. This is not war. This is a demonstration. Keep pushing, and it becomes history. Back at the council chamber, Relin stood once more before the frightened assembly. This is what cold power looks like. No shouts, no battles, just presence. Councillor Varn looked around. So what do we do now? Relin answered, voice steady. We learn to respect what we thought was beneath us. And for the first time in 100 years, no one in the council argued. In deep space, Earth's Black Fleet continued its slow, silent movement, unseen, untouched, unstoppable. Inside the Winterlight, Mira recorded her log. They thought a warning would tame us. Instead, it gave us purpose. We didn't rise with fire. We moved like ice flow, unseen and everywhere. She closed the log and looked at her crew. Now, let's show them what frozen stars look like. Asterisk on the council capital world, fear settled like thick fog. The once confident diplomats and military leaders now whispered behind locked doors. Every screen, every system, every ship watched. Maybe. No one was sure anymore that it wasn't that Earth had destroyed anything. It was that Earth could, and didn't. That silence was louder than war. In the chamber of High Speaker Relin, a small group of council members gathered in secret. They no longer spoke of punishment. They spoke of protection. We need to send someone into their space, said Varn, eyes twitching. Someone they won't destroy. We've already tried diplomats, Lor replied, shaking his head. None returned. Then we don't send a diplomat, Relin said. We send a witness. Someone to understand them. The room fell silent. His name was Toma, a deep space pilot from the neutral world of Kelvra. Not military, not political. Just calm, skilled, and brave, or perhaps foolish. He volunteered to enter Earth space, armed with nothing but curiosity. And a single message from the Council. Why are you doing this? Toma flew a small, unarmed ship directly toward Terran-controlled sectors. His signal was clear. His flight path slow and steady. He expected warnings, maybe to be turned around. Instead, Earth let him enter. No message. No resistance. Tana's ship was gently pulled out of warp above a cold gray moon. A massive ship hovered nearby the winterlight. Before he could hail, a voice came through, emotionless but not hostile, docking aloud. Do not bring weapons. Questions will be answered. That was all. He entered. The inside of the winterlight was quiet, clean, functional. Every human officer he passed nodded politely, but said nothing. They weren't angry. They weren't cold. They were focused. Captain Mira met him in a simple command room. No guards. No weapons. I'm Toma, he said cautiously. I know, she replied. You're here to ask why. Yes. She studied him for a moment, then walked to a console. You sent us a final warning, she began. One meant to make us kneel. That was never, he started, but she held up a hand. Intentions don't matter. Actions do. She turned the console to him. It showed footage council ships monitoring Earth's outer colonies, council operatives pushing sanctions, border blockades, spy satellites. You've been preparing for our failure. We prepared for your success. Back in the council hall, a silence filled the chamber as Tana's report streamed in. They let me in. I spoke to their captain. What did they say? Relin asked. They don't want war. They want freedom without oversight. Counselor Varn stood, confused. Then why this show of force? Toma answered slowly. Because they don't believe you'll let them stay free. The chamber was stunned. Captain Mira sent one final message to the council, broadcast openly. Across all channels, you sent us warnings. We replied with silence. You assumed silence meant surrender. That was your mistake. This will be our only broadcast. Your sensors won't find us. Your threats won't reach us. And your fear won't change our path. If you continue to push, you will not hear the next reply. You'll simply feel it. In panic, council members tried to call emergency sessions, initiate new peace committees, even prepare defense fleets, but most of their fleets were already compromised. Half their sensors were useless, and no one knew where Earth's Black Fleet would appear next. Across the galaxy, civilian worlds began to question the Council's leadership. If Earth could take 10 systems without firing, what else could they do? Trade worlds opened talks with Terran diplomats quietly. Afraid of missing Earth's rise, mining colonies began switching to Earth-approved CUM systems for efficiency. They said the galaxy hadn't changed with war. It changed with a whisper. High Speaker Raylan stood at the edge of the council balcony, looking out at the stars. They could have burned us, he said to himself. But instead, they buried us in fear, and the stars seemed colder than Ever. The Council's last hope was brute strength. On the icy world of Zarnus Prime, the Council's most advanced battle fleet prepared for launch. 100 warships, 5 supercarriers, dozens of elite pilots. Their mission: push back against Earth's quiet spread. It was called Operation Dawnfire. But the dawn never came. As the fleet moved into warp, something unexpected happened. Sensors blinked red. Shields dropped. Engines failed, without a sound or shot. The ships froze mid-jump, trapped in fold space, caught by Earth's quantum anchors. The admirals shouted. Crew scrambled. But systems no longer obeyed. Weapons didn't arm. Lights dimmed. Entire ships drifted in silent darkness, disabled and lost in a place between time and space. Earth hadn't detected. They had disarmed an entire fleet without firing once. From orbit above Zarnus Prime, a lone Terran probe appeared. It projected one message across the stars. This was your strongest arm. It's now frozen in place. We are not at war. We are past it. The message ended. A probe vanished. On the Council capital, the news spread faster than ever before. Operation Dawnfire had failed before it had even begun. The halls of power echoed with silence. Counselor Lore collapsed in his seat. They were ready for everything. They even knew we'd try this. Counselor Varn's face was pale. 100 ships. Gone in one breath. Relin stood slowly. They didn't win by striking. They won by watching. On Earth, General Ray reviewed the transmission logs. The disabled fleet remained stuck in limbo. No casualties, no counterattack. Status? He asked. Council fleets are silent. Ground worlds unresponsive. Civilian colonies now requesting contact, not the Council, us. Ray turned to the window, looking into the blackness of space. It's time to mark the line. Across 10 star systems, Earth's Black Fleet revealed itself. For the first time, the Terran ships dropped cloak. They didn't open fire. They didn't speak. They simply hovered. Silent, dark, larger than anything the Council had ever built. Then, slowly, they spread into formation, each one claiming orbit around a Council world, like watchers standing over frozen giants. No shots. No invasions. Just presence. Captain Mira stood on the command bridge of the Winterlight, watching as the galaxy responded. One by one, systems began broadcasting distress calls, not because they were attacked, but because nothing could stop Earth's gaze. Mining Moon shut down its port and offered its loyalty. A border station raised white lights, Earth's color for non-aggression. And a council governor resigned on live broadcast, stating, "We are no longer in control. Earth is." Toma, still aboard the Winterlight, watched it all unfold. "I've seen empires fall in flames," he said to Myra, "but never to silence." Mira looked at him calmly. "Silence is only scary if you know what's hiding behind it." "What is hiding behind it?" She didn't smile. Everything. The Council, in final desperation, sent one last message to Earth. "We acknowledge your presence. We request negotiations." There was no answer. Instead, Earth uploaded one final system-wide broadcast. A single message scrolled across the stars. No terms. No treaties. Just boundaries and silence. And so it ended not with a war, but a freezing. Earth's territories were marked in quiet orbit. Council fleets no longer entered. Ships that did never came back. No one knew how the Terrans did. No one dared ask. Children across the galaxy were taught not to venture near the frozen stars. Merchants rerouted entire trade networks. And in the center of it all, Earth stood silent, untouched, untouchable. In the shadows of the galactic map, one region was now colored in black and blue. Earth's domain. Cold. Unchallenged. And watching. *A. Season had passed since Earth's Black Fleet revealed itself, that no more council ships disappeared. No more colonies went dark. But no one was foolish enough to call it peace, because peace meant agreement, and Earth had given none. They had simply stopped Dot in the once proud chamber of the Galactic Council. There were now more empty seats than full ones. Dozens of species had withdrawn from central rule, choosing neutrality or quiet allegiance to Earth's growing sphere. The power had shifted, and no one could pretend otherwise. Even the stars looked different now. A third of the Galactic. Maps showed territories where council vessels no longer dared to go. Worlds marked not by flags, but by absence. And in the silence, the people began to whisper a new term. The Cold Line, on the council capital world. High Speaker Relin stood alone in the grand hall. The chamber once echoed with voices, debates, and pride. Now, it echoed only with footsteps. Toma approached, hands behind his back. "They haven't sent another message," he said softly. "They don't need to," Relin replied. "They already spoke. What do we do now?" Relin stared at the giant star map above the chamber, where Earth's domain shimmered with a pale glow. "We stop pretending we lead, and we start learning how to survive beside them." On Earth, General Ray stood on the balcony of the high tower, the city far below, silent beneath the stars. A quiet came with being feared one that even leaders found heavy. Chana, his officer, stepped up beside him. "It's done. No more warnings. No more replies." "Good," Ray said. "Now, the real work begins." She hesitated. "We never signed anything." "No," he said, "because words fade. Fear doesn't." Across the stars, civilizations adjusted. Merchants adapted to new routes, now cleared faster under Earth's quiet escort ships. Independent worlds applied to Earth's open trade network, one that worked without bribes, without favoritism, just precision. Some leaders were bitter, others relieved, but all agreed. Under Earth's silent order, the galaxy moved smoother. Aboard the Winterlight, Captain Mira sat in her command chair, reviewing reports. 3 new council worlds have requested protection, her officer said. "They're offering data, access, and neutrality." Myra nodded. "And we told them we'd consider it." After a 1-year silence, "Let them learn patience." She smiled faintly. "No one values quiet until they've felt the storm that comes before it." In distant regions, young students now studied Earth differently, not as one of the core species, not even as conquerors, but as something else. A boundary, a law that needed no courtroom, a silence that reshaped history. At night, children looked to the stars and pointed toward the dark sections of the sky where Terran ships moved unseen. They didn't tell stories of battles or warriors. They told stories of when Earth stopped talking, and the galaxy started listening. One day, a small ship crossed into Earth's claimed space. It didn't belong to the Council. It was unmarked, a simple cargo vessel, lost. Instead of being disabled, it was met by a Terran patrol. They scanned it, offered coordinates, and silently guided it home. When the pilot landed, he was asked, "Did they speak to you?" He shook his head. "No, they didn't need to." And so it was. Earth never claimed to rule. They never flew banners. They never sent soldiers. They just waited. And the stars bent around them, not because of power, but because of how they used it. With silence, with precision, and with cold, terrifying clarity.